All right, I think we have our attendees joining the room. Hello, hello. Oh, wow, it's going so fast. I can't even read the names. Oh, there's Carrie, Janice. Hello, Frankie and Connor. Welcome, welcome to the inaugural App Pack webinar. We'll let everyone float in for a minute. Let's get the chat warmed up. Everyone say where they're chiming in from, if you don't mind. Oh, I'm just going to say, I'm going to mention, we've got, there's two areas for chat. There's a Q&A and a chat area. So make sure if you want your questions answered, you use the Q&A. And if you just want to chat with the general group, then use the chat function. Atlanta, Toronto. I'm from BC, from the West Coast, the other coast, another Atlanta. I think all our CEOs are East Coast by the looks of it. Oh, I think Sarah, some people are saying the chat's not working on their end. So if you could go in, Sarah's our events lead on the back end handling logistics. So she'll get that figured out for you guys. I was wondering why it was only us talking.
Yeah. Also, I just realized, Herm, you're in Atlanta also.
Yeah, I know. I saw that, and I had to.
Let me just see you afterwards.
You guys need to go for a drink.
Yeah, we should definitely hang out. I didn't know you were based out of here. Or you spend a lot of time there.
Next, we're gonna find out we're like 4 minutes away by walk, right?
No doubt. Well, let's get started. We've got a full house today. So hello, welcome to the inaugural webinar of the App Pack, like I mentioned earlier. The future of AI for bookkeepers. All right, well, it's no surprise that AI has become a hot topic across the world. But when you add in the granularity of how it impacts the industries and professions, more conversations really need to be had. So I thought to myself, who better to discuss AI in the bookkeeping and accounting industry than with three fintech software apps who are all very invested on how AI impacts their customers. So that brings us here today. I'm going to be honest, though, it's not very often that one can successfully wrangle and align the schedules of three leading edge fintech CEOs. I'll just say that. But when I proposed this topic, everyone was thankfully on board and cleared their schedules because AI has become part of their daily conversations and they have a lot of insights they want to share today. So thank you again for taking the time. So I want to leave as much time as possible for the panel today because we have a lot to talk about, but I do have some housekeeping notes. So like I said, there is a chat function in Q&A. Hopefully we get that fixed up, Sarah, on the back end. So for now, just use the Q&A and we will we'll do that. But if you just want to chat generally, hopefully the chat will open up for you. Also, there's going to be a survey at the end of the webinar. We have a couple questions and some feedback. And also, if you require a certificate of attendance for being here today for education credits, that's where you're going to submit your details. So make sure you do that. Okay, so what is the App Pack? Well, in a nutshell, Wagepoint, Plooto, and Financial Sense have all teamed up to help bookkeeping professionals prepare for the future of fintech. What are we up to and why are we doing it, you ask? Well, guess what? 3 established and trusted industry apps are on a mission to make app decision fatigue a thing of the past. You all know what I'm talking about, all the shiny new apps that distract us from our client needs and all our deadlines. I sympathize with the challenges that professionals like all of yourselves have to deal with when facing technology moving at the speed of light. You know, even like before your morning coffee, you're checking the news most days these days. Well, the App Pack's going to be your one-stop shop for automation, integration, implementation, software evaluation, and all things fintech. We aim to take technology decision fatigue off your plate by using your peer industry experts who will bring real life, tried and true experience to the table, going beyond what each of our softwares has to offer. And first up, we have our resident Wagepoint troublemaker, Strad. I told him I was going to say that today because he is. He really is. All jokes aside, though, when Strad co-founded Wagepoint more than a decade ago, he wanted to build the kind of company that he always wanted to work at. Surprisingly, it turned out to be payroll. I'm sure that's a conversation for another day, but yes, Shred's passion for small business trickles all the way down through Wagepoint's friendly product, caring customer support, and every interaction that Wagepoint has with its customers. Wagepoint offers simple payroll software built just for small businesses and the bookkeepers and accountants who serve them. And Wagepoint helps more than 22,000 amazing customers take the pain out of payroll, time tracking, and people management. And occasionally we send them bad dad jokes. All right. Next up, we have Hamid, the co-founder and CEO of Plooto. Now, I don't know if he's actually the resident troublemaker at Plooto for a fact, but the fact that he co-founded Vast Studios, the multi-platform gaming company prior to Plooto, makes me think that he likes to stir up a little bit of fun. Hamid graduated from IADT in 2007 and worked at the Bank of Montreal for a few years after that. Plooto helps finance teams in small and medium-sized companies manage and maximize their cash flow end-to-end through payment ops automation. Plooto is used by more than 9,000 customers across Canada and the US.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Here. That's amazing. Yeah, for sure. Lastly, we have Shahram, the CEO of Financial Sense. In my spidey senses, actually a couple industry peers have told me that Shahram is also the resident troublemaker at Financial Sense. And I don't know, it looks like there's kind of a fintech CEO prerequisite to me, and likely why these three gentlemen have managed to break barriers in this space. One thing is for certain though, Shahram understands that laying the foundation to scale your firm is tough. You have to document your workflows, establish collaboration channels for your team, and implement the right tech to overcome challenges you face. Because of this, Shahram has successfully helped thousands of accounting firms overcome these challenges using Financial Sense, an easy-to-use practice management software built to help accounting and bookkeeping firms track the status of client work, collaborate with their team, and get work done. Thank you, gentlemen, for taking the time out of your busy schedules.
No
Thank
problem.
you.
So before we jump into the hot topic today, there's going to be a few polls because I really wanted to gauge where our audience is at in their AI journey. So let's launch poll number 1. Dun, dun, dun. All right, can everybody see it? I can't, I have too many browsers open.
Yes, we can.
Oh, great. Okay, do you think AI will impact bookkeepers? We've got our results floating in. A few people say, I hope not. Eventually, it already has. What do we think? Strad?
I think it already has.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, I'm going to end poll and we will publish the results. Dun, dun, dun. 82% says it already has. 16% says that it's eventually going to impact their profession. And 2% say, I hope not. Guess what? These gentlemen are here to give you faith today. All right, so let's chat. Let's chat. Fintech CEOs tell all. Whoops, that's for our next slide. Let's start with you, Shred. Do you have any opening remarks?
Yes, first off, thank you very much. I appreciate the positioning that you give me, mostly because I feel like I earn it. I try to earn it on a regular basis. So thank you for that. The other thing, just to talk about app fatigue in general, it's not just you guys that experience it. I bet you if I asked Sharm and Hamid on their income statements, how big the line item is on software that we all spend on, it's it's larger than any of us expected it to be, I think at least 10 years ago. So on a regular basis, we also we also experience this, do we have the right tools in place? Should we upgrade? Should we downgrade? How do we kind of maintain all of it? And why is it also expensive these days? I mean, there used to be a time I remember SaaS software was like the cheapest thing you could buy, like, versus like desktop or something that you had to you need systems implementation analysts for. And now everything's gotten, expensive even on that front. So we experience the same things that you do. And one of the things that I truly believe, I think that it is our responsibility as companies to modulate how much we make you guys have to learn. Because otherwise, I mean, we're all drowning in an information age to some extent. So I think it's a very interesting time in our society, or at least from a professional standpoint. We're 25 years into the technology revolution, and just when we've started to kind of get the hang of it, here we have AI, right? It's just now going to disrupt all the things that we do yet again. And the question really is it's just the when at this point. I don't think I don't think whether it's going to happen or not is the question. It's just the when. And so, I thought maybe even just as an opening statement, sort of just saying, this is kind of obviously my 2 cents on it, at the highest level, right? Which is we're destined for this starting to change the landscape of our business. And it's going to show up in many ways. Of course, we're going to talk about some of those. But yeah, Hamid and Sharm, I'd love maybe Sharm next, and then Hamid after, for you guys to kind of weigh in as well.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, AI, ChatGPT, all of this, like, it hasn't been out that long, and you're seeing such huge impacts. Everyone's using it. It's all over social media. Everyone's talking about it. It's already having such big impacts on our businesses, and especially in the accounting and bookkeeping space. And I'm interested to talk a lot about this because there is a lot of fears of, will it replace us? Will it replace what we do? I don't think it will. We'll get into that later. But there's just so much opportunity, right? It's opened the doors to increase efficiency, drive productivity, boost your bottom line, and really just to do a better job at serving your customers and serving our customers. So I'm really excited to talk about this. There's so much exciting stuff going on with AI and ChatGPT, and it's going to be a really good conversation today.
Awesome. And I just want to, first of all, thank you all for allowing me to be here. It's great to be on this panel with all of you and to share my opinions, and hopefully we all walk away learning something. In terms of being a troublemaker, I've been advised by counsel not to comment on it. So I think we're just going to park that. But I think overall, I feel like you have to have a little bit of fun, right? Otherwise, being an entrepreneur is really, really tough, right? And I'm sure, with everyone on this panel, I can tell you that, as well as all of you on this webinar, that if you're not having some fun along the way, then it can be really difficult, because being entrepreneurs is not easy, and I can say that as a 2-time entrepreneur. When I started my first company, which was a gaming company a number of years ago, I wish I had all of these automation and AI tools running my own business. I remember spending my weekends with our bookkeeper, trying to understand how much money we have coming in and who needs to be paid, and I had like a stack of checks to sign, and then I had to go to the bank on Monday and send wire transfers. So one of the main reasons we wanted to start Plooto is that we didn't want other entrepreneurs to go through that experience. And this is and I have seen and I have benefited from major shifts in technology. The only way I was able to leave Bank of Montreal to go and start my own gaming company is because the gaming industry shifted from physical distribution. You had to go to like a store to buy games, to digital distribution, and that significantly reduced the cost of developing games, which allowed me to become an entrepreneur. Otherwise, that would not have been possible for me. And we were one of those small businesses that got lucky, and we did well, and we got acquired eventually, which gave us the opportunity to solve this for others. But it's not something that happens for everybody. So our goal is here to just show people that automation and AI is not anything scary. It's only scary because maybe we don't understand it and it's new. But once you start to think about the opportunities and how to embrace it, then absolutely you never want to go back to the old way of doing things. And hopefully, today we can accomplish that as part of this webinar.
Awesome. I have another poll, and let's figure out where our audience is at, where they're using AI currently in their business to help kind of guide the next step, maybe in the conversation, because I think those results are going to be really interesting. All right. Do you currently use AI in your business? Ooh. Whoa, those very varying results. So we're almost 50-50 yes and thinking about it. About 23% are saying no. So we're going to give them a little bit of oomph to try it out. All right, let's end the poll, share our results. There we go. Yes, it's 47% of people in the webinar are currently using AI. So maybe they're going to get some really awesome insights into how they can, incorporate it into other areas of their business today. 22% said no. So we're going to give them some baby steps to start off with. And 31% say they're thinking about it. So I'm going to go back here, and we're going to find out where they're using AI. So the next poll is launched. Are you using it for marketing, content creation, customer communications, onboarding clients, employees, task management? Select all that apply. What areas of AI are you using in your business? What areas of your business are using AI? Sorry. I use it a lot for research and content creation myself.
It's really great for that. I think that's
Yeah.
one of the best ways to use it.
It helps that the rabbit hole of brains where you can go, especially in AI.
And it also shows up in all kinds of places you didn't expect, I find. Recently, an employee resigned, and I'm 100% sure the entire letter, which was very well written, was written by ChatGPT.
Yeah, probably. Absolutely. Okay, I'm going to share the results because this is really interesting. 28% of our pollers said marketing, 38% content creation, 34% in customer communications, 28% are using AI in their onboarding for clients or employees, 25% for task management, 28% research, and 53% the apps I use AI. So that's really good news for us here. And then other, but the chat's not working, so we're going to have to get to that. So I was hoping we could get a little answers there, but our chat function doesn't seem to be working. Sarah was working on that. So just use the Q&A if you guys need to ask us anything, please. So gentlemen, how do you feel about those results?
Yeah, they're interesting. I think if you guys don't mind, I go first. I think that this is, I'm very empathetic to how many things people have to learn these days. Like I feel this is one of the things that, I think about a lot. And I think we at Wagepoint, we think about where we believe that if we can just put ourselves in the other people's shoes and imagine the number of things that, you guys as bookkeepers, because this app pack is for bookkeepers. And the reason that we're doing it in this way so that we condense the information that we share so that it's not like a tsunami of information, which is what's going on today in the current the current landscape that we're all in. So I think that what's likely to happen is that apps like ourselves are going to we're finding ways to use AI within our apps. And so the fact that that was the dominant, I mean, by a small margin, but still the fact that it's dominant, I think it's incumbent upon us to build those features in and do a very good job explaining why it's going to be effective for the end customer, of course, through our partners. If I'm not mistaken, I think Sharm, for you guys, the end customer is the bookkeeper, correct?
Yep, that's right.
Okay. For us, and I think Hamid, you're in the same boat as we are, bookkeepers are our partners. So for us, we need to ensure that that the work that we do, it is completely understood by our partners so that they can then kind of, correctly relay it back to the end customer. So yeah, although, obviously marketing is the number one thing that I would expect. The fact that, people are already seeing it in applications and starting to understand the impact within applications, it's super interesting and very much yeah, very much something that's on our mind too, or at least on my mind as the CEO of Wagepoint. Sharm?
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, it's really cool to see how marketing is the biggest driver for AI or the most use case, but there's so many ways you can use AI, or I use ChatGPT a lot. There's so many ways that you can use it, and it's so like deceivingly simple that you sometimes don't know where to start, right? Like I've seen on LinkedIn, on social media, all over the place, all these different use cases that I never thought that I could use ChatGPT or AI for that can help my business. And I think as an app, you see a lot of people, like you mentioned, are using AI in the apps. As an app, it's part of our job to help these firms that use AI, because it can be so overwhelming, helping like lead them to the promised land where it's going to be important to adopt AI in your firms, right? I believe that if a lot of the firms that don't adopt AI, there's a chance they could fall behind, because these other firms that will adopt it will be able to provide a better customer experience. They will be able to be more efficient and profitable and can reinvest to grow faster. So as my job, like when we started implementing AI on our app, it was how we thought about how can we make this easy for our customers, the accountants and the bookkeepers, to use AI in their firm, and to make where they don't have to really think about it, and how we can empower them to use this new technology. So it's really cool to see that other apps are following along with that.
Amit?
Yeah, I think what's really important is that at Plooto, what we really try to do is to think about always the end state, or the value that our customers want or expect from us, and then we always start with that and try to work backwards from that. And the reason that I mention this is that as we embark on this AI journey, it's really important that all of us not just simply rush into it, but really try to understand where AI can be useful. Because to me, AI is just simply a tool, right? It's a hammer or it's a shovel, right? And if you're using hammer where you need to be using a shovel, and where you need to be, vice versa, then you're not going to get the best results. And I think where we are really seeing is where we see it be really powerful. And I think when we are talking about AI, we're just simply talking about regenerative AI, which is, you take a lot of information, you digest it, and then you're able to have outputs based on, common language, which is, what ChatGPT is. I think it's really important that when you're thinking about AI, you don't just rush into it. So I have like the other perspective, I guess, when it comes to AI. I absolutely see the value of it. I think it's going to be really powerful. But what I am seeing in the market right now is a lot of the same type of thing. And all the apps we're using, they're literally it's the same AI integration.
Exactly.
So I think for us, it's really about, this is really interesting, but like, how can we really curate it to our experience and to our customers' needs. So that's I think that's the way I look at it, which is probably a little bit different than most people like.
Yeah, us too. I just want to say that even though we are exploring it at Wagepoint within the app, we are not at the position where we feel comfortable saying, here's the areas of greatest value. Because what we don't want to do is put another feature that people have to learn just because it sounds sexy, right? Or it feels like it's timely and this is what everyone's going to get jazzed up about. A long time ago, one of the ways we got onto the Globe and Mail is we basically allowed people to get paid in Bitcoin. And this was in 2014, so it was very mainstream, right? Like starting to kind of rise. And the problem with that is that that entire industry was still so nascent as a, Bitcoin. You could argue that even today it's somewhat nascent, depending on who you ask. But so the exchange that we use basically collapsed within about a year from us using it. And so then we had to kind of redo everything on our end. And so the point I'm trying to make is that the exact point you're saying too, Hamid, which is for me as within Wagepoint, it's very AI is very good for predictive stuff, especially where it's right now. It's getting better and better at predictive modeling, but we have to be careful that we don't kind of utilize it in a place where we really just needed a better search, better search function, versus, something that can answer a question in a predictive sense. So we're viewing it as something that we're spending time understanding the landscape and making sure that we don't just add layers into the app that don't actually make things better and just add more noise to the problem. So I don't know how you guys feel about that. I just wanted to
Yeah, I would like concur with that. I would say it's important that what I can tell you is that AI is going to be here for a very long time. It is not like a fad. I mean, it's very clear that we've had a breakthrough. However, the applications that we are seeing of that breakthrough remains very similar. If you look at all the apps that are implementing it, it's a similar use case. But that's just the V1, right? I think the V2 and the V3 and the V4 is going to get really interesting. But it's really important that that everybody just learns about AI as much as possible and really try to learn how to utilize it in their business, because what I'm really excited is not just about like this version of it, but what's going to come next and then what's going to come after that, which is going to really make it interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
It looks like we have another question. We have a question in the QA box here, and I think maybe Sharm, you're uniquely poised because you have done a lot of work in your app from an AI standpoint, right?
Yeah, we have, and it's y'all are both on point. Like with you see a lot of people just adding AI to their app just to get that buzz, right? Get that a little bit of boost, get more awareness in the market, get some more PR per se. But it's really important to really think about your end customer. What are the main problems that you're solving? What are their biggest pain points? And how you can use AI to solve those pain points. Like, so for us, where we first added it was documenting their processes as a workflow tool. The first thing any firm has to do as they start to grow is document how they do their bookkeeping work. Because when they grow and they get too many clients, they can't do all the work themselves. They have to hire someone. But there's that risk of trusting them with the work, which is a really hard thing for a lot of bookkeepers and accountants to do, which also sometimes is why a lot of bookkeepers accounts don't grow, because they never make that hire. They never get past that trust factor. So you have to be able to create an SOP, a standard operating procedure that you can share with someone so they can do the work to the same standards that you do it without you having to, look over their shoulder. And so we used AI to help us do that. So like, that was a really cool use case, and our users loved it because they could type in, for example, create a process for doing a tax return with a married couple filing jointly that owns 20 rental properties. It'll actually create a standard operating procedure with steps of how you do that type of tax return. And then they could take it and then edit it to fit their process. But it lays that foundation, right, that they can build off of, and really gets them over that hump where they might get a writer's block or might not have to reinvent the wheel. So it is really important to think about the use case and how you can use it to solve your specific needs and pain points of your customers.
Yeah, and the first step and I think the hardest part of building a habit is really just the first step, right? And so many times we put a lot of these low value tasks away because we just don't want to get started. I as a CEO of the company, I probably spend like 3 to 4 hours of my day just writing emails. If I can, reduce that 3 to 4 hours to an hour of email writing and use AI to do that, now I can be out there, talking to more customers. I can be out there talking to more Plutonians, and that's like really powerful. This doesn't necessarily have an impact directly on the business, but if you do that enough and you save all that time, then towards growing your business, then obviously the impact can be immense.
Yeah, there's a compounding nature to this, and on our end, obviously, payroll is there's regulatory realities that we have to deal with. Like we're not making these rules, right? Their rules are coming from Employment Standards Act and labor laws, and there's a lot of detail in that. And we think, obviously, like, customer service has been something that AI has had, AI has been useful in customer service for a long time, but the typical machine learning models have not actually been very useful in that. In part because it needs a lot of data before it actually becomes useful. In the current atmosphere, we're looking at how do we utilize the new crop of AI, which would be like ChatGPT forward. What we're finding is that obviously what we have to balance very carefully the use of AI inside of customer service and actually providing human support to people. Because there are many times when you're like, part of the problem with AI is that the question you ask is as important as anything else. And so if you don't know what you're asking, really the AI response is going to reflect that. And so we have to be very careful about how we introduce it. But it's an example of an area in our business where we're considering it or we're exploring it at the moment. So just to answer, I think, Matthew's question about some of the places that we're using it. Any other comments on that?
I do. So talking about using AI for customer service, we've actually just started to implement that about a month ago. So we use intercom chat support.
Yeah.
We have the help center, which has a lot of these commonly asked questions, and we've been consistently building that over the years because a lot of customers, they don't want to wait, even if it's just 10 minutes for a customer success person or support person to respond. They want to be able to find it instantly on their own terms. And you're seeing that becoming more and more of a trend in the market. So we implemented AI to answer those questions. I was a little nervous about it at first because the last thing I want to do is talk to a robot when I get on a phone.
Yeah.
But it's resonated really well with our audience because now it can answer the question in seconds versus waiting 10 to 15 minutes. It's helping them get their answers faster so that they can move on with their day. And we've seen about, I think it was like a 40% resolution rate in all the questions that come in through the bot. Now, what's important is if it can't get it right, if it gives the response, it quickly goes to, did it answer your question or do you want to talk to a real person? So we still want to make it easy to reach real people, but we want to take that chance to try to resolve that problem if it's a commonly asked question or something that is already answered inside our existing help center. And it's customer support is a great place to use it. And I'm excited to see how we can build off that and better serve our customers, but also at the same time positively impact our business because, better customer support, better retention, but it also makes it easier for us to scale and serve more people faster.
Yeah, and just on that topic, just because now I'm curious, I'm assuming that you're using your internal data to train, whatever, in this case, intercom specific, but it's your internal customer data. And do you find that, like for us, like we have very high touch for customer support, like so we have a lot of information, of course. Do you find that you have enough of a large enough set of data for it to be actually useful?
Yeah, we do. So it specifically pulls from our help center where we've created, I think we have about 150 articles, but it digested all that data and it does a really good job at spitting out the answer and then tagging to the article, linking to the article just in case they want to learn more. But we found that it's worked pretty well. There's still a lot to go, but we're constantly reviewing it every week. So what we do now is we review it every week. What are the questions it couldn't answer? Could it have answered these? Or, was it a bug request or an issue, right? But could it have answered? If it could, let's now create an article for that and build off of it. So we said, let's start somewhere. We're not going to get all our questions answered, but we can build on that over time and hopefully get that resolution rate to, 60, 70, 80%. Is our goal.
Yeah, so it's something you have to keep monitoring, you have to keep feeding basically and keep tweaking.
Yeah.
And this is something that I think is an important point, because as soon as you enter this space, you can't do it once and then it's done. You literally have to keep at the model or else it does not actually become accurate or does not work towards accuracy. So this is kind of a point I just wanted to bring up to the audience, because once you begin this journey, it's not that there's no going back, but there's a continuous learning. It's literally like a child that you're teaching, and you need to keep feeding it the right things, otherwise it becomes problematic for society.
That is very true. And one of the things we look at too, outside of just did it resolve the problem, but did it give the wrong answer, like you're saying?
Yeah,
and you do
exactly.
have to go and think, okay, maybe we need to reword this or make some adjustments here. But it's a little bit of work, to maintain it, but it's great once you get there, and it can run on its own.
Yeah. Hamid, anything to add into that?
No, I think for us, we're taking a bit of a different journey, because I mean, obviously, we're serving thousands of small businesses on Plooto, and we are also a regulated entity, because we do move money around, and personal information and compliance is a really big part of what we do. So I think for us, we probably don't have the same luxury as like feeding it customer data, because we still are new in that journey of just like assessing what the implications could be in a regulated environment. However, the use case of for example, answering some questions that customers have is something that's really interesting, and it doesn't affect any of our customers personal information. So I think things like that we're going to see, but we're probably a little bit away from using customer personal information to develop insights around their business. And I think that's where it can become really interesting, is if you can just like come to Plooto and answer a question about your business, and then we can answer that for you in a really short amount of time using the data that you have across different platforms that you've connected to Plooto. And I think that to us is like where we want to go. So we're starting to like, that those are some thoughts that we're having, but we're just taking probably a little bit slower approach to implementing it because of the environment that we operate in or have to operate in.
Yeah, totally. It's well said. Yeah, it's the same thing that we can't like, and I think it leads perfectly to Carrie's question about security and privacy of information. That's part of the biggest, this is actually the biggest challenge that we have, is we are working with our lawyers right now, and I'm sure you guys are too, because the real question is, who owns the data that we send to these large language models, and how did they, like, even the so just last week I attended a conference where the head of AI for Snap, formerly Snapchat, was talking about how they're using AI, and even they have this problem. And this is like obviously a multi-billion-dollar company with hundreds of millions of users, and even for them, like the legal aspects of this entire space is very unclear. And so the question becomes, from a pure security standpoint or privacy standpoint, which obviously, like, as people who hold data of hundreds of thousands of Canadians, we have to take it very seriously. This is exactly why we don't train, we haven't used AI on that data, for the exact same reason Hamid said, because we actually don't know the legal implications of who owns that, the outputs. And this is one of the things that the Snap guy said as well. Like, we're still so nascent in the way that we understand the legalities, that it's better to not move than to move just for the sake of moving. So yeah, I mean, the question really is, what kind of security issues can arise, and how should we be, what should we be aware of? And I think these are, obviously this is a very salient topic for this group. So Sharm, do you have any thoughts to add?
Yeah, you have to be really careful, because just everything you said, you don't know who owns the data. If it goes into the algorithm, it now exists and is being used to feed that algorithm, and other people can access that information potentially. So you don't want to put any personally identifiable information in there. It's funny. So like when we were first looking at using AI for our support, we start with the help center, right? Like we talked about where it's all these articles that we've written, but there was like a conversation where well, what if it could take previously answered questions from past conversations with customers and know the answer, so we don't have to write articles? But the challenge and the reason we can't do that is because you run into that same issue. Like, there could be personal information in there. There could be sensitive, social security number, personally identifiable information that you don't want in those chats, and you can't prevent that from happening. So you can't pull from those chats for that reason. So you got to be really careful how you use it. And I've heard of companies putting in very sensitive information in the chat GPT, and then now it's part of the algorithm, and they can't get it back. They can't take that back. So it's definitely a big concern. You got to be really careful what you feed it. You can't put sensitive information in there.
Yeah, for sure. I think you just have to use common sense, like a lot of these situations, right? I mean, we've heard of stories of Samsung engineers putting in the source code into ChatGPT, right? And I think every time you are sharing your data, you have to, as consumers, be aware that we all need to be aware that these companies can use our information, right? The moment you provide it to them, they can use it. So I think from Plooto's perspective, our stance is that we're gonna wait and see and study it a little bit more to understand it. But it's funny that you mentioned that story, Sharam, because a few weeks back I got into like an hour-long conversation with ChatGPT trying to see if it knew me. So I kept asking it like all these questions about, what do you know about me? Because I've been using it for like a few months now. So it's just like it went on for an hour, but I think they've trained it really well, because it just kept saying that it doesn't know anything about me or who I am or could predict anything around my information. So it's funny that you mentioned that, because I've spent like an hour having that discussion with it.
Awesome. Do you mind if I jump in and ask some more questions for you, Jonathan?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So I have some burning questions, and I know I've, being out in the community and all these events lately, the biggest kind of conversation that keeps coming up is, what tasks are going to be eliminated for bookkeepers with AI? And alternatively, which ones could be enhanced by AI, specifically to the role of a bookkeeping professional?
Yeah, that's a great question. When you guys take, Shar, maybe you go next, and then Ahmed. Okay.
So there's a lot of really great places that you can use it in your firm. I mean, like we talked about a little bit, I've done some use cases. I've talked with firms about this a lot. A really great place to start is market research, right? So a lot of firms, they want to niche down. They want to focus on a core customer, because it can help you become a much more successful business by focusing on solving one problem for one target niche. So I've seen a lot of firms, what they do is they'll say, what are the most profitable niches for accounting firms, right? Give you the top 5. And then from there, you can take it even further, right? So let's say, what are the biggest you use dental practices. What are the biggest pain points that my bookkeeping services can solve for dental practices? I'll give you the top 3. And then from that, you see people create an outbound email, which they can use to reach out to potential customers, and then create common rebuttals to typically the objections they have. And you create like a whole market research, like niche down. You can create your initial sales process. You can use it to create the engagement letters you sign them up with. You can use it to do research on how you should price your services based off the years of experience. You see, so much market research can be done with that. And even benchmarking, right? So I've seen firms do this where they ask, what is the average profit margin for a firm with $1 million in revenue? That's focused just on bookkeeping services. Or what is the average revenue per employee for bookkeeping firms with anywhere from 3 to 5 million in revenue? And you can kind of get ideas of where your firm should stand. So it's really great to get insights of how you should run your firm, but also just from market research to sales to marketing. There's so many different ways that you can use it.
Ahmed?
Yeah, I think the best way to think about that is you really it's going to be different for every firm, right? You would have to ask yourself, what are the most important things about my business that I cannot outsource, and what are the things that I can outsource? And I think any time where it's low value add tasks, such as writing a proposal or responding to an email or putting reports together, you could probably use AI technology. However, providing insights to your clientele, getting more customers to sign up with your practice. Those are things that we're still like far away. So for me, I would probably just create a list of things that take a lot of time but do not generate any real return to your business, and that's a great place to start. But it's going to be different for every firm, because every firm is structured differently. There's different people involved, there's different incentives involved. So yeah, I would customize.
Yeah. And if you guys haven't subscribed to Zain Khan's, I don't know if you guys follow Zain Khan on AI. Basically, it's a newsletter, and I think you could just find him on LinkedIn. Just type in Zain Khan, and you'll find it's ZAINKHAN. That's how you spell it. And he's producing lists of AI tools. And as Hamid said, there's a lot of them are largely very similar, because obviously like our first best ideas are usually the same for most people across the board. But in terms of the role of this bookkeeper, I'm going to tell you our experience with Bookkeepers in the 10 years that I've run Wagepoint, and all the ways in which we've seen the trend move. So one of the things that, when I first started the business, it became very obvious that bookkeepers were not actually just keepers of books anymore. You guys have surpassed that part where obviously you're trying to, make sure that the input of information coming to the core books are, is correct. But you're actually very often, the firms that we've seen adding the most customers and growing the fastest are by far, without a doubt, the cloud accountants, the folks that actually have embraced technology in a way where they've understood its use across the workflow. And I think the exact same thing is going to be true for with AI in this next round. The question is going to be, who is going to be able within the bookkeeper space, who is going to go from the cloud accountant to the AI assisted bookkeeper? And there's obviously a transition. And like I said, at first, companies like ours, we're going to have to help, because it's not an easy or straightforward way of looking at it's not like we can say, oh, do X, Y, Z, and we're gonna, as Sharam said, take you to the promised land. This is going to be a collaborative effort, because we're all kind of figuring it out. But I think that the role of the bookkeeper, it really, I often say that bookkeepers have a bit of a marketing problem, because to me, it's very obvious that bookkeepers know a lot about technology, at least the ones that have really invested in learning over the last 10 years. And the reason I'm so bullish about this, I truly believe that as small business owners are having to navigate the stuff, bookkeepers are going to become, especially the ones that learn where it is, where AI is going to be useful, are going to become the #1 place that a small business owner is going to go get information, go feel safe. Let's kind of put it on the table, right? There's a healthy paranoia around AI, just generally speaking, because at the end of the day, we know it's gonna take jobs. There was a study recently, I think it's World Economic Forum, or one of those high folks that really do across the globe studies, and it says something like 80 million jobs are going to be gone in the next 5 years. Now, whether or not that comes to pass, of course, we don't know. But what we do know is that everyone's going to have questions about this. And specifically, you guys are here on this call because you want to learn something for yourself, but eventually to support the small business owner. That's where we're all here, right? We all have businesses that basically take care of the guy on the main street. And that person on Main Street is going to have those questions. So how is the role of the bookkeeper changing? It's going to change from a specific standpoint of, if you have not adopted cloud technology, you're already behind the curve. If you have adopted cloud technology and now you add AI into your stack, and that's kind of what we get known for. I think those are going to be the early wave of people that get the new batch of customers who want to move to these technologies. So, this is an arc. That's kind of how I see it.
I think the only thing I just would add to that, I mean, this has happened in history like so many times, right? I mean, before alarm clocks, we had there was a profession called knocker-upper, right? Which are basically people that used to come and knock on your window at 5 a.m. for you to like go to work. If you had that job, and then you would pay them, a cent or something like that. But then alarm clocks were invented. Same thing with like movies, right? Like people who used to play the music, before there were talkies, right? So it's just, this has happened like over and over and over. So I think there's an opportunity to, we can fear it definitely, but then there's also an opportunity to say, what could bookkeeping look like in the future? Because then to me there's opportunities to expand your business, to open your practice to many things. And my advice to everybody here is that small business owners do not have the time to learn AI, right? Like small business owners do not have the time or the free time to be able to like keep up on this evolution, and they come to you for advice and they come to you for guidance. So that creates a huge opportunity for you to be that thought leader for them, to be that thought partner who could help them navigate some of these challenges that they have in their businesses. So I think there's going to be a lot of jobs like probably like lost, but then at the same time, I'm a firm believer that innovation creates way more opportunities than it destroys.
Yeah, I want to add to that too. I completely agree with that. I think, a lot of accountants and bookkeepers are scared AI may replace their jobs, right? But I don't think it will. I think there's always going to need to be that human element. It's a very complex job. And I think what's going to happen is it's going to allow them to shift their focus a little bit. They're going to be able to get away from that low admin work that no one likes doing in the first place. So you're going to be able to then, instead of doing all that low admin work, you're going to free up your time and maybe shift to more of an advisory role with your clients, right? You can spend, and those are the better services to offer. Those are usually the more profitable services. Those are the services that build trust. Those are the services your clients like and that help you retain your clients and build that relationship. And I think the firms that are going to be able to adopt AI to get away from that low admin work and to really shift themselves as an advisor and offer those advisory services, they're going to do really well. And they're going to be able to really protect themselves from being eliminated by AI and all these other apps that are coming out.
Yeah, and it obviously sounds self-serving when we say some of the stuff, right? Because we are obviously in technology and we benefit from some of these trends. But the truth of the matter is that we can't stop them either, right? Like we are also riding the wave alongside you guys. And so the thing is, right, that at the end of the day, the folks on Main Street, like the small business owners, they're going to find reasons to reach out to you, and you're going to have, if you have the answers, or at least a directional for them to sort of walk towards. I mean, that's going to change exactly as both of these gentlemen have said. It's going to change the perception of what bookkeepers do, and that I believe is only going to benefit the industry. So we're pretty excited. I think that's why we're bullish about it generally. Advice on how bookkeepers can prepare for the changes coming, Hamid?
I think the first step into this is just to educate yourself. I think it's really important to stay on top of this as much as possible. I know everyone's super busy, and you probably have like 10 minutes while you're drinking your morning coffee or something to read up on this, and I think use that opportunity to educate yourself. And then what's really important to in our company and many other companies is to go to your customer and have those conversations with them, because your customers will tell you if they have challenges that could benefit from AI. And I think your job as as bookkeepers, and really then becomes about connecting the opportunity to pain that your customers are experiencing. But as much as possible, because this is a really fast moving and it's changing pretty much like every day, the most you can do is to educate yourself and be involved in it as much as you can.
Yep, sure.
I would say follow people in the space that are talking about it in the bookkeeping space. I see it all the time on LinkedIn. There's a lot of people that talk about how they're using AI in their market, in specific markets. And I follow someone specifically. So Jason Stats, really smart guy. He talks a lot about AI. He gets deep into it. He's constantly researching. He's up to date with all the new updates. And he owned an accounting firm for 10 years. So he really understands how it can be used in day to day and used to make your firm more efficient. So just get online, see who's talking about it, see who's knowledgeable, and see what they're talking about. And that's a really good way to like stay up to date, to educate yourself without having to figure it out all on your own.
Yeah, well said. I think also the point that was made earlier about the lowest possible, entry points into using AI, which typically is administration work, right? Administrative work. That, just dipping your toes and starting to see how you feel about it, right? Because at the end of the day, this is just technology for now. I'm sure there's a whole other conversation we can have about, where it's going in terms of, development of AI and generative AI. But the fact is, at the moment, there are small ways in which you can impact your own administration or the things that you do administratively every day. And even those small acts are going to compound, as Hamid pointed out earlier. So I think that's how you prepare, as you accept that this is the reality of where we're at today. And it's unlikely that we're going to go back to a pre-AI world. And at the end of the day, if we can, kind of collectively as a group, help each other through that process. And really, this is what the App Pack is meant to do. I think, we're going to have some takeaways from this first session that we have done together. I'm sure we're going to talk a little bit about, things we could have done better, things we could change in the future. But these are forums for exactly this preparation. Because we know what's like, we can sense, like we talk to, I don't know about Hamid and Sharon, but like I talk to potentially like every year we talk to hundreds, if not a few thousand folks in your community. So we have the arc of the conversation. And what we see generally, and I'm telling you guys this so that you understand, the highest growth for firms, for bookkeepers, tends to come from people who adopt technology. So if that's important to you, if growth of your firm is important to you, then this is the only path forward. So just sort of embracing it, but in those baby steps, just start using it to write emails. That alone is going to help. Or as Sharon said, do some market research. I think these are all just baby steps in that direction. So just remember, you're not alone. We're with you on this. We are navigating this ourselves. And we have, luckily we have resources for that, and we have lawyers and stuff who advise us. But this is a community thing at the end. We have to help each other get to that finish line.
I concur. So valuable. That was very, very awesome. Thank you, gentlemen. Well, guess what? We have more App Pack webinars coming. So that's super exciting. Next one is going to be July 19th, how to scale faster with end-to-end automation with your firm.
Okay.
Right on topic. So manual admin tasks, especially in the areas that are critical to your firm, can slow efficiency, create bottlenecks, and ultimately prevent you from scaling. So learn from your peer industry experts. We're going to chat with them about ways to reduce manual, monotonous work. They're going to share their hot tips on end-to-end automation for payment and receivable processing, the importance of using practice management software, as well as streamlining your payroll so you don't ever have to miss a deadline ever again. Sarah's popped a link in the chat, so you can sign up for all our App Pack events there. And yeah, we're going to have monthly webinars. So I'm super excited about that. And thank you again to the CEOs for joining us today. That was very, very insightful. Thank you to Sarah on the back end handling our logistics. And of course, thank you to everyone who took the time out today to contribute to the conversation and listen in. Again, there's going to be a session survey after the webinar. Please give us your feedback and submit your information if you require a certificate of attendance.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate it. And we'll see you guys. Hopefully all of you attendees, we'll see you guys again to the next one. Appreciate all of your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.